Good afternoon, everyone. If you're just joining us, welcome to Whogohost Biz Fireside Chat. My name is Ada Obodo, and I work with Whogohost. And this is our Whogohost Business Fireside Chat that we hold monthly. And this is we hold this fireside chat basically for entrepreneurs and startups, and also business owners. The last fireside chat we had that with John Obidi, and we talked about how to sell anything online. That video is ready. So for those of you who missed it, it was quite an interactive section. So if you did miss that, the last fireside chat, the video is up on our YouTube page, and we also shared the link in our email to everyone, so you can actually have a replay. And today we'll be having someone from MTN Nigeria Communication PLC. I can't wait to listen to this person. His wealth of experience is mind blowing. So today we'll be having Alex Ibere. He's a business leader with 20 years of experience in brand management, marketing, communication, and business development. He'll be discussing with us how to build your startup brand and maintain it. He's gained several experience across various sectors, ranging from technology, consulting, FMCG, and telecommunications. Alex is a tech enthusiast and is excited about the change and advancement the application of technology can bring to the society. I mean, who wouldn't want to listen to somebody who is a big enthusiast for change? I would want to, and I'm sure you also would like to listen to this great mind who has gained so many experience in different fields. So Alex is here with us, and he'll be taking over from me immediately. So please, I know I can't hear your claps, but if you can clap wherever you are, please do clap. Please help me make welcome Alex Ibere. Alex, over to you. Thank you so much for joining us today. Hello, Alex. Can you hear me? Hello, Alex.
Hello, Ada. Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Hello, Alex. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Hello, Alex. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me? Yes, I can hear you very well. Can you hear me, Ada? Hello?
I can hear you. I can hear you.
Hello, Ada?
I can hear you now.
You can hear me now, right?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Okay, great. Now, let me see if I can turn on my camera. Can you see me?
Good. I can't see you yet.
Okay.
Okay, yeah.
For some reason, I'm using two different devices.
Oh, okay.
Yes, so let me see if I can control the volume.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. But I can't see you.
Perfect.
But I can hear you.
No problem. Okay. I think I can sort that out.
Okay, there's a noise from your end. You might want to check it. I think from your speaker. Okay, yeah, it's fine now.
Yes.
Okay.
It's fine now, right?
Yeah.
Perfect. Let's see. So now let me turn on my video.
Oh, perfect.
Better, right?
Yeah.
Okay, great stuff. So thank you, everyone. It's a great pleasure to be with you today. Is it clear? Is it sharp enough?
Hey, you might go take tomato. Take tomato.
All right. Is it sharp enough, Ada?
For you.
Okay. All right. You say it's sharp enough, right? Okay. All right. Let's see how we can manage this technology today. All right. So it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure being here today. It's a great honor. Thank you, Whogohost, for putting this together. I think SMEs do such a great job. So it is always nice to have an opportunity to support them one way or another to do the great things they do. For starters, I would want to shout out to all the women in the house. Happy International Women's Day in arrears.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you.
Yeah, women in business are doing a great lot of work. You know, they're doing a great deal. So we are happy to see that the playing field is being leveled every day, and it can only portend greater stuff for the future. I think SMEs do great. We don't acknowledge them enough. An economy is nothing without SMEs. You know, SMEs go out there, they run their businesses, they create value every day amidst the challenges of doing business anywhere. The challenges doing business in Nigeria, notwithstanding, they go out every day and create value. By creating value, they are bringing their products and services closer to the people. They are creating employment for people to get jobs. And for every mouth you feed, you know you're feeding multiple mouths. So I must say it's a great thing that SMEs are doing out there. I want to say, by setting the tone, that today is about you. It's beautiful that Whogohost has put together this series, this Biz Fire Chat series, and I'm excited to be one of your speakers today. It's about you. It's the idea is for it to be very conversational. Let's see how we can share ideas and add value. From where I sit, I'm just going to be sharing thoughts. I don't run a business, so I'm not going to pretend that I have the answers to your many questions. But I do think that from the experience I've garnered over the years and from the knowledge I've gained, I think you'll be able to pick one or two things that could help you in your business. And I'll be very happy to hear from you. It's going to be very interactive so that at the end of the day, we can come to some agreements on some of the things that will be useful to you as a business as it concerns branding. So at this point, I'm going to share my presentation and we'll just kick off. Oops. All right, Ada, can you confirm that you can still hear me?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
Oh, fantastic. Now, for some reason, I'm unable to share my slides. It's saying that only the host can do that.
Okay.
So, yeah. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to start, but I'm going to send it to you so that you can share it. All right?
Okay. Okay, no problem.
All right, but I'll start, but I'll send it to you at the center.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, let me make you a host so you can share.
Okay, all right.
All right, okay.
I've also shared with you, so let's see whichever one works faster.
Okay, so I've done that, so you could try again.
All right, let's see. Okay, I think it's still telling me the same thing, but that's that may be the case until I log out and log in again. So I think I've sent it to you. So once you get it, I think you can share, and then I would.
Okay, no problem.
We'll take it from there. All right. So today is about. So today we're going to look at branding. We're going to look at where branding starts. We're going to talk about the importance of your target market and understanding your target market. We're also going to talk about the components of strong brands. What are some of the brand building vehicles, and what are some of the ways in which businesses build brands? We're going to look at pitfalls, and then we're going to look at some key takeaways before we go into question and answer. Okay? So I like to say at this point, Jeff Bezos, the popular CEO of Amazon, says your brand is what other people say about you when you're not in the room. So branding is something that happens regardless of whether you are in the driving seat or you're in the passenger seat. Your brand is either being proactively, deliberately worked on, or you're happening to create a brand of extreme importance, because a lot of things pertaining to your business are going to be dependent on what people think about you, what attributes people associate with you, and what they say about you when you're not in the room. So what's all this fuss about branding, and why does it matter? So I'll start by asking a question. Imagine that when you went to the market, there were no brands, and all the products you saw was simply just bare products. No name, no logos, everything was just bare. You wouldn't know a bottle of Coke from Pepsi because there was no difference. It's like looking at colored water, right, with sugar in it. That's exactly what Coke would have been without a brand. So why does it matter? Now, one of the reasons why we believe branding matters is it helps create differentiation. It helps you be identified by your customers so that people can know that this is you. Some of the questions we also ask are, does it really concern me to build a brand if I'm a growing business? And is it not expensive to build a brand? So the question is, if you think building a brand is expensive, then I can tell you that not having a brand is a lot more expensive. Ada, at this point, do you have the slides?
Yeah, I do. So I'm trying to
share?
Yeah, I'm trying to share. So apparently, I think it was disabled from the very start. So I'm trying to enable that.
Across.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right. Let me know. Please feel free to stop me.
Okay.
Let me know once you're able to do that. Okay?
All right. Okay.
All right. Can we have our people type in the comment section if you are able to hear what I'm saying? Let me just know that everybody is going along with us. So please feel free to type in the comment section. Oh, perfect, perfect, perfect. So let's hope we should have the slides up very, very soon. So why does it matter? What's all this fuss about branding? Why should it matter that we have a brand or we don't have a brand? And should it concern me as a growing business? Is this one of those things that consultants and marketing people have brought up again so that they can eat my money? What is all this thing about branding? Why does it matter to me? So to put it simply, branding is very important because it is what distinguishes you from your competitors. So take any line of business. If you look at restaurants, for instance, Restaurants exist everywhere. Whether you're talking about upmarket restaurants or downmarket restaurants, mid-class range restaurants, there are restaurants that cater to different categories of the society. What differentiates one restaurant from another? Why do I drive kilometers to go and eat in a particular place when I could actually just eat next door? What is it that makes me, when I walk through a shop that is selling phones, what is it that makes me, stop when I get to a particular phone, pick the particular phone up and say, oh, I like this one. This is the one I want. What is it that makes me, when they've sent me, when I've been told from home, please, on your way back from work, stop by and pick up toothpaste. And then I go to the supermarket and see this sea of toothpastes. In fact, you realize just at that point how many different brands there are. What makes me say, this is the one I will pick. This is the one I know. This is the one I'm going with. So these are all the things that pertain to branding. So branding is extremely important. If nothing else, it helps in the buying decision. So you're catering to a market that so many of your competitors are also catering to. Why would the competitors buy from you? So this is exactly what this speaks to. How is it going, Ada? Any luck yet?
No, I'm really trying to fix it, but I don't know. It's telling me host disabled participant sharing.
Okay, all right.
And I actually made you, I actually made you a co-host. Or rather, I made you the host, right? Actually, you're actually the host currently. So maybe you could try from your end too.
Okay, let me try from my end again.
Yeah.
Let's see. All right. Tells me the same thing. Only the host can share in the meeting. All right.
Hello,
I'll
sir.
tell you what.
Hello?
Yes.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Yeah, I think the issue is this. You are using two equipment here, right?
Oh, yes. So I should switch off one, right?
Yeah, the second one is the one that is host.
Okay. All right. You know what? Let me try and see. Now, for the other device, for some reason, the camera is not working. But I guess we will just go ahead with that. So thank you for that suggestion. Let me quickly disable this one and try on that. So just give me a minute.
Or I'll just, which of them are you using? So I could switch the host to it.
Just give me a second.
Okay, I think you can share now.
Yes, I'm able to share now. Let me just make sure that the microphone on that device is up and running.
Okay, then you can actually, can you also show can your video come on too?
No, on that particular device, my video can't show.
Okay, then I think I should just make, I think I should make that the device you're using for your video a host instead.
Okay, all right. You can go ahead and do that.
Okay, so
let me stop sharing from here.
Okay, is it that means it's the second one then?
Yes.
Okay, let me try and see if I could. But you can just go on. If I'm able to switch, I'll just let you know.
All right, great stuff. I'll go on.
Okay, so I think you're the only one right now who have the ability to switch it. So you can just switch and make the other one a host.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see. All right.
All right.
Is this working?
Yeah, it's working.
It's working?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you hear me well?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, fantastic. Okay.
Okay, there's a noise from the mic.
Yes. All right. Is the noise still there? All right. All right. So are you seeing my screen?
Yeah, very clear.
Okay. Okay, good. So just to be clear, what are you able to see on my screen right now, Ada?
I could see why does it matter? Does it concern growing business? Is it not expensive to build a brand? It's a slide. So what's
Okay,
all the
has it
fields?
shifted?
Yeah, it has shifted.
Okay, great. So now that I'm clear that we are in control of this, let's move on. So
All right.
apologies for that hiccups, everyone. Let's move. So like I said, why does it matter? Does it really concern us as growing businesses? So it's very easy to be tempted to think that branding is only something you do when you are a big business. But it's counterintuitive because to become that big business, you have to have a brand. So branding concerns everyone from the very get-go, from the very beginning. It is an investment you need to make. Now you determine what that investment is going to be, and we're going to talk about these things. So what is your why? It sounds like a very existential question, but it's a question that you really have to answer. What is your why? Why are you in business? Why are you in business? Why are you doing what you're doing? What's really behind it? What's your story? What's driving you? So this is very important because people don't buy what you do. They buy why you do it. If you look up a Simon Sinek video on TED Talks or on YouTube, and it's called What is Your Why? Or look for Golden Circle. He talks about the fact that some brands, some companies are able to communicate in a way that connects with their audience. Some will communicate. It appears that they're saying the same thing, but for some reason, they're not connecting. Now, the secret of this is actually talking about your why. Your brand reflects you. It reflects who you are. It reflects what you stand for. Why we say your brand starts with you is because just as an individual, your attributes, your characteristics determines the kind of friends you have, the kind of people who want to associate with you, the people who are comfortable around you. In the same manner, a brand attracts to itself the kind of people who associate with what that brand believes in. So I'll take that again. You attract as a business, as a brand, the kind of customers who believe what you believe, who believe in the values that you communicate, in the values that you show in the way you do your business. That will determine the kind of people who connect with you and do what you do.
So your why is important because your why is your story. Your why is the reason that you're different. Your why will connect and be a reason why customers in a sea of competitors that offer the same things that you do will decide to buy from you. Your why is what makes you different. So let's think about it. You walk on the street and there's so many supermarkets, and you want to enter the supermarket business yourself. You feel that there's money in this business, it's something you've always wanted to do, you've always liked to do it. So the question is, what are you going to do that is going to be different? Why should somebody buy from your shop? Why should they come to your shop? Now let's reverse the question. Think about all the brands that you like. Think about the place where you go and shop today. If you needed to go to a supermarket to buy, why do you go to that supermarket? What is it about that supermarket that makes you go there? Then also think about that place you go. Let's use a restaurant example. You're very hungry, right? And you've had a hard day, it's been a busy day, you feel you deserve a good, decent meal before you go to bed, and you want to eat out. What determines which restaurant you go to? Do you say, I'm just going to choose the next one because it's just right next door? Or do you find yourself going a little distance because you want to get exactly something from a particular place? So that's the thing. Your brand starts with you. And you have to be very, very clear as to what you want to stand for, what your why is. Why am I doing this business? Now, I'll give you an example. You hear of people, right? I know there was a story about, if I'm correct, let me not risk getting that story muddled up. Now, there are times you hear about somebody doing a business. I'll give you an example. Let's say the person has a children's hospital. And you wonder why that hospital was started, and you hear the story, and you get to hear that the person had a personal experience where, because of lack of a hospital in a particular area, the person lost a child, or somebody around that he knew, very close, lost a child because there was no help at that particular time. So because of this, this person started a hospital. Now, if people get to know that that is just what makes people take this more seriously is that they believe that this particular hospital, this particular entrepreneur is not just in it for the money. There is a greater goal, there is a greater reason why this person is in business. So they connect with that person because they believe that because he has some skin in the game, because there's something driving this individual, he's going to pay more attention, he's going to be more particular, he's going to ensure that he doesn't lose a life as much as that lies within his power, that he keeps medical care coming. So that's just an example of how a personal story can drive the passion someone has for a business, and by so doing, connect to customers. Now, in the course of our discussion, I'm going to share a few more because there are quite a few. And that will be what makes that thing different. Now, we've talked about your target market. Who do you want to attract, and how is your brand going to benefit them? What does your brand have to offer? Now, I'd like to say at this point, let's just state it for the record. You cannot be all things to all people. It's very tempting. It's very tempting to say, yes, I sell clothes, and I sell clothes to anybody and anybody who just wants to have good clothing. But the truth is, for you to make a difference, for you to stand out, for you to be able to focus, you need to determine who your target market is. So let's keep the focus on a fashion designer, right? Or a fashion brand. They decide that, you know what, I want to focus on the youth. And not only the youth, I want to focus on females. So we make trendy clothing for young females, right? Now, that is an example of a target market. That is an example of you drilling down as to who you want to focus on. Because the truth is, when you look at the market has different characteristics. So depending on the strata, depending on your target market, there are characteristics that are tied to each target market. So what young females would be interested in, the trends, keeping up with what is happening, the kind of clothing they want to wear, what is comfortable for them, what they consider to be something that is a fashion statement, would differ depending on whether you want to target younger people or older people or people who work or people who, or whether it's children or so on and so forth. So your ability to target down on your target market, to narrow down on a base, gives you the opportunity to say, I am going to focus on this area and I'm going to ensure that I give this target market what it wants. That way, you're able to drill down and make sure that your brand characteristics tie in very well with what your market needs. Then when you ask yourself, who is my ideal customer? Who am I really in business for? If I draw out the personality and the characteristics of my ideal customer, is it somebody who likes to feel free in her clothing? Is she all about the look, but does she also want comfort? Does she like bright colors? Is she bold? Is she confident? All those kind of things will drive how you come across to your target market. Now, these are some examples of strong brands, right? What makes these brands recognizable? Why is it that when you see these brands, for instance, it elicits a certain feeling? You associate a certain set of attributes to all these brands. There is something about these brands that you see that is instantly recognizable. There are certain attributes you associate with these brands right off the cuff. And if we ask people across board, chances are that these attributes will be very similar. So what are the things that make these brands strong? Now, let's start with brand identity. Brand identity is the thing that your customer sees, the look and feel of your brand. What makes your customer or your prospects know that this is you? That's what we describe as brand entity, okay? All the different characteristics that can be reduced to look and feel. Now, another component that strong brands have, they have clearly defined purposes, missions, and values. It is clear why they're in business. It is clear what they stand to do. It is clear what they bring to the table. So the purpose is why they're in business. The mission is what they're seeking to achieve. And then the values are the things that keep them honest, that they say to themselves, I am going to be true to these things in all my dealings. So this is what keeps them honest. Then messaging. We often talk about brand voice. We talk about brand personality. Every brand has a voice, has a tone, has a personality. What is it about your brand that defines its personality? If you look at your brand today, if you were to talk to yourself and say, okay, I'm in business, I've been in business for a while. How, if I was a human being, if I was a person, how would I describe myself? How would my customers describe me? Is my brand bold? Is it confident? Is it happy? Is it youthful? Is it welcoming? Is it proud? So these are the different attributes that a brand has. And your messaging, your brand messaging must reinforce your brand attributes. In fact, it's the vehicle for which people know what you're about. So when somebody sees your advert, or someone picks up a brochure, or someone picks an article on you, these attributes show in your messaging, in how you communicate, the tone of how you communicate. Is it warm? Is it conversational? Is it friendly? Those are the things that your brand messaging transport to the customer. Then brand differentiation. I think this is a very, very core aspect of branding. How am I different? So let's look at the fact that you're in business and you're a photographer, for instance. What makes you different? I mean, taking pictures is taking pictures is taking pictures. But is there something that you bring to the table that is different? What would customers say makes them come to you rather than go to somebody else? So every brand has its differentiation. And if you haven't discovered it yet, it is something you need to seek to find and to be clear. And once you're clear about it, it has to be clearly communicated. Differentiation is very important. I'll give you an example. I was on Whogohost website, and I said I was having this talk. I want to get to know a little more about them. I've known about them, but I wanted to get a little more. And one thing that kept coming out, that kept popping, was the fact that their support is readily available, that they have support, and that they give their customers the kind of support that gives them confidence and gives them comfort. The reference to support was so strong, so it could easily tell me, as somebody looking at the brand from outside, that this is an area in which they want to differentiate. Now, because what they do is intangible, right? You can't touch it or feel it. It's a service. The way they connect with their customers is through support. And they want to make sure that is as tangible as possible, and they emphasize it and so on. So that is one area they differentiate. Now let's go to experience. When the customer actually does have something to do with the brand and actually finds that everything they say and everything they allude to in their messaging is actually the case, that is what creates the experience for the customer. So brand experience is the sum total of everything the customer feels when he engages with your brand, whether when he comes to your shop, if you had a physical shop, when he goes to your website, when he engages with your people, when he engages with your staff, every time he's at a touch point where he needs to engage with you, that experience, that brand experience is what reinforces your brand. Now, if you have an experience, if you give your customers an experience that is in consonance with what you say your brand stands for, then you are moving towards having a very strong brand, because it shows that everything my customers experience when they deal with me is exactly what I say. So that experience reinforces their belief in your brand, and it continues to happen like that. One thing I'll say at this point is, when considering branding, you must consider consistency. Once the experience your customer has is consistent, once every time he engages with you, it is consistent, your brand, your customers will have a strong belief in you. They believe that your brand promise, you're keeping to your brand promise. What is it that I stand to gain when I interact with this brand? What is it I tell my customers they're going to experience when they interact with me? That is the brand promise. And once this experience confirms that that brand promise is true, that what I see is actually what I hear I was going to get, then it means you have a strong brand. And that experience will reinforce your brand. Now, this is a quote from Steve Jobs. And though it's a long quote, I'm just going to summarize it quickly and say, you need to be in business more than just for the money. Because if you're in business just for money, I can tell you what likely happens. Business is tough and it's hard. I mean, you know more than me. You are businesses, you run businesses, you do it in a climate that is not easy to do business. Yet you continue to push every day of every month. You continue to push and you continue to strive. And kudos. But if you're in it just for the money, what will happen is, you see Mr. Alex is doing something different and is making money. And the question you ask yourself is, if this my palm oil business is not bringing me money, oh boy, it's like this business is better. Or let me join people who are now doing oil business. I'm going to sell crude because that will give me more money. So it means that if you're not really passionate about what you do, it's so easy to give up. And in giving up, it means that your brand promise will continue to change. Your brand identity will continue to change. Your target market will continue to change. And you will not be able to bring a brand. You will not be able to build a brand. Because the business at the end of the day, customers will just see you as, he's not really here for the money. For anything other than the money. So Money in itself is that we are unable to create a connection with our customers if all we are interested in doing is selling. And that's why you see brands will do a lot more than just sell. So I give you an example of Apple. Apple is a brand I use because a lot of people know it is popular and it's a brand that I personally love. You walk into an Apple shop and what happens? You see that you are able to play with any of the Apple devices that are on sale, whether it's an Apple TV or a MacBook Pro or an iPod. You're able to touch it, you're able to use it, you're able to test it, you're able to listen to music, there are headphones. You can experience things directly. And when you enter the shops, you don't have somebody coming to say, "Oga, what do you want?" Instead, they're asking whether they can help you. And you notice when you go into those shops, they're not in a hurry to attend to you and quickly get on to the next person who wants to buy. No. They seem to be very comfortable just allowing you experience and just helping you get the best of the experience of you walking into the Apple shop. So that is conversed with the situation where you enter a shop and then, I know I've entered many shops and I enter a shop, for example, and I'm looking at the clothes they have to sell. And the sales girl comes to me and says, "Good morning, sir, what do you want?" And I say, "Oh, I'm just window shopping, I'm just looking around." The next thing is she will either turn around without saying a word and probably in her mind think that this guy is just wasting my time, no one buy. But what we fail to understand is if I don't fully get a grasp and I'm not comfortable with what I see and what I touch, maybe that buying decision, I will never get there. So that experience you feel, that thing that is above, over and above money, that you want to create an engagement, you want to create an attachment with your customers. You let your customers come in, experience your product, touch, feel, and feel comfortable. And let them be perfectly comfortable knowing that if they don't buy, you are not offended. Because for you, it is more than just, you're looking at a bigger picture. If I can make the customer feel comfortable and happy when they come into my store and answer any questions they may have, they will likely be willing to come to me next time when they're actually ready to buy. Or I will help them ask questions. And when they have answers, that buying decision will take place. And if I am the one helping them along and giving them the information they need, would I not be likely the one they will buy from? So that's the bigger picture. And that's why you see that brands that are in business for more than just the money stand a chance of actually creating that connection with their customers. So there are a number of brand building elements, right? There's advertising, which is a very common one. You see the newspaper ads, TV ads, online ads. These are ways through which the company is able to communicate its brand. So even if it's a product, they're able to sell the attributes, they're able to sell the kind of functional and emotional elements associated with the product or with the company, and then people get it. There's also sponsorships. So you see big brands would sponsor a TV reality show, for instance, a music reality show where they help young people or individuals who want to develop themselves in music. They help them hone their skills, and we have so many of them. That is another way through which your brand is creating connection with its target market. So all the various brand building vehicles, at the end of the day, aim to create a connection with the brand. Connection between the brand and their target audience. So you go into a shop and it is branded. A customer comes into the shop and he knows, oh, I'm in this particular shop because of the look and feel, because of the way it is. There's a place for people to sit when they come in, for instance. You're able to drink water, even though that's not what they sell. There are little things inside that outlet that make you feel comfortable, but you have gone to associate with that particular brand. Those are things that further reinforce your brand. Merchandising. You can see cars that don't have any sticker at all, and you see an Apple sticker on it. Why? Why are people comfortable in a movie or in an advert showing an Apple laptop or somebody holding an iPhone when that is not the particular brand that they are selling? What is it about me putting my merchandising out there that makes my customers or prospects happy to associate with me, even beyond myself and my presence. Then different customer engagement initiatives. So at this point, I want to say there is no hard and fast rule, or there's no certain number of brand building activities or means that you can have as a business. You need to think of yours. You need to think of ways I can connect with my customers that is going to build a bond between myself and my customers, and that is going to reinforce what I have made my customers believe about me. It's going to reinforce what they currently believe about me. So that every single activity I do reinforces the image my customers have of me and the attributes they associate with me. So there's so many things. In today's day and age, with a very competitive marketplace, with customers that are more demanding than ever before, that with customers that know much more about a product sometimes than even the people who sell the product, you have to create a means of creating engagement, whether it's having a blog. So for instance, there was this organization, there was this company that needed to push its food brand. And they said to themselves, how are we going to differentiate ourselves in a market that has a lot of very strong, big players? We're a much smaller brand, but what can we do to differentiate? What can we do to make that connection between ourselves and our target market that will make them realize that we are here to add value beyond just make sales? So what this particular brand did was they said they are going to start selling recipes or sharing recipes free of charge, because they were into pasta and they found that a lot of people had limited ideas when it came to different recipes you could make with pasta. So they decided to create this this particular engagement where people could engage them, could find out new recipes, could be taught how to make these recipes, could experiment on recipes, and could have chefs that were very experienced talk them through how to put food together. So now that was just a creative means. Through that particular brand said they wanted to do something different. You always have to think of ways you can add value. Now, I will say this on a personal note. You are in the market and you're competing with so many different brands, not only people who are doing in the line of business that you're in, but people who are also competing for a share of wallet. So for instance, I do remember when telecom started, when the beverage brands, for instance, were considering what their competition was. Airtime was also one of those competitors. So a telco became a competitor to them, not because they were selling things like Coke, but because the money that people would have used to buy a beverage before, Fanta, Coke, Mirinda, they are now using that money to buy airtime. So this is just to show you how complex the marketplace is. If you do not do something that is different and above the ordinary, that helps you stand out, you are not going to be noticed in your market. You're just going to be one of the others. And people wouldn't understand why they should pay any more that they're paying from anybody for a service from anybody else, why they should pay any more from you, with you. Building a brand allows you to charge a premium, even if that premium is a slight premium. Because you've built a brand, because you stand for more, because you're offering value, and because your customer sees that you're in the business of offering value first before getting paid, you're able to charge a premium. I'll give another example. When you are able to find that there's a website, for instance, that you go to, and that website gives you so much quality information, so much information free. When you find that they are selling something, you find it difficult not justifying why you should pay for their services. So I'll give you an example. Look at Google. Google today you enjoy Google Maps. You enjoy Google Search. You enjoy Google Assistant. All these services add value to you without you necessarily paying. Now, yes, their business model is such that you, the customer, your eyeballs, is what other brands pay them to have access to. So you, in particular, are not necessarily their customer. You're not their paying customer. But the truth is they add value to you. So because of this value they've added, if, for instance, they start charging $1 a year for somebody to use Google Maps, you wouldn't find it difficult justifying that because you've enjoyed them use their services for free for so long, because you can actually see that this business adds value to you. And when you look at the balance of value, you don't find that it is disproportionate in their favor. So that is just to say again that it is important that you are more than just selling to the customer, that you are able to differentiate and add value. So what are some of the pitfalls when it comes to branding? Not investing in your brand, saying that, you know what, I'm a growing business. Which day did I start business that I will start doing all these branding things? I beg you, my own business is just to sell my product. Sure, I'm selling and people are buying. What's all this business about branding? That's a pitfall because in the short term, it may look like people decided to buy from you and you're able to make your sell and you're able to get somebody buy from you again. But all it takes is for you to look over to your customer and realize that this person who was pricing your product and saying, no, this is too much, this is too expensive. I can't buy this shirt from you at this amount. That same person bought a shirt that is twice the price from your competitor. Why is that? So the same people who say, oh, I don't have money, or this is too expensive, I can't. That same person is buying something very, very expensive. So what determines how much we part with is driven by the value we associate with the product that we want to buy. So if I consider that there is value in this product, I am happy to spend money buying it, even if I'm going to negotiate. But if I consider that there's really nothing different between product A and product B, I will use price as my determining factor. Another pitfall when it comes to branding is to not stay true to your brand. Now, we see this happen a lot, even with small businesses. We see this a lot, even with a large businesses. You see sometimes businesses find that one company is doing very well and customers are talking about them. So they say, you know what? I want to be like them. Let me change my design philosophy. Let me change how I go to market. Let me change certain attributes about myself. Since they say that is what they like, let me follow and be like them. Now, it may seem that that's a good idea because, they say follow who no road. But remember, you have a target market that you appeal to. The moment you change your attributes, the moment there's something about you that changes, it means that that set of people who came to you because of what they believed in you, what they liked about you, that set of people may change. So it means you may end up losing people just because you wanted to be like your competitor. So originality is the best strategy. Stay true to your brand. Be who you are. This is not to say that you cannot evolve or you cannot learn, but everything you do must have what is core to your brand at the center. So you don't change the core of your brand just because you're evolving or just because your competition is doing something different. I personally believe that you should care less about what your competition is doing. And this is just my personal view. If you believe in yourself, because I don't believe that, I believe it's not really about competing. It's about being who you are and being the very best of you. And when you're the very best of you, those who are attracted to what you stand for and what you believe in will be attracted to you. And that is enough. When we believe in a competitive marketplace and all we see is competition, competition can end up driving us. And rather than being driven by competition, I would rather that a business is driven by what it believes and by its brand. Another pitfall, to move very quickly, we're soon going to go to the question and answer session, is that you should not be too product focused. So it's great to have your products and people recognize your products and people value your products, and there's this great association around your products. They know it is recognizable, they have the right set of attributes and elicit right set of emotions from your customers. But beyond that, the organization or the platform, the business that brings these products to market also needs to be invested in, so that the brand equity from your products can spill over to the brand itself. Or let me say it differently, that the brand that brings these great products to market has enough equity such that when people see this brand, they say, oh, from the brand that brought us this particular product or that particular product. Because I believe in this product, because I like that product, I trust that this thing they're doing will be very good, right? So when you see a machine and you see the logo on it that is BMW, you know that BMW is into automobiles, right? But for the fact that you see the BMW logo on some kind of other engine or machine, you're easily able to associate the brand with that. It's okay. If they can machine a BMW vehicle very well, and I love it. I don't think it would be hard for me to believe that they can do this excellently well. Again, subordinating branding too low within the business. You need to have this at the right levels. Branding, if you're a growing business, is the preserve of the owner of the business and those running the business. It is not something you just employ an officer to do, and then when you finish dealing with money-making matters, you say, let's talk. What can we do in the area of brand? No. Branding is intertwined with your business strategy. So every time you go to market, every time you're doing something, every time you're taking a decision, you're asking yourself, if I decide to change the layout of the way my offices are, if I decide to change the uniform so that my staff are easily identified when people come into my boutique, if I make changes to my website, do these things reinforce my brand promise? Do these things make people believe more in what I've sold them? Or does it distract from them? So that's why we say it has to sit at the right level within an organization, because all the key decisions that are made at that level need to take the brand into cognizance. And once it's intertwined with the brand, then you can say that the decisions you're making are reinforcing your brand. Now, at this point, I want to say, is everybody here? Can we hear me? I'm not going to risk looking at the comments at this point. So Ada, can you let me know? People listening, and do we still have the house?
Yes,
yes, everyone is here. Everyone is here.
Oh, fantastic, fantastic. All right. I did say to Ada when we were talking about this that I want to spend more time on question and answer. So I'm going to go quickly through the 1 or 2 slides I have left so we can quickly get to the Q&A. Now, how do you assess your brand? How do I say that I've measured my brand and this is where I can say my brand stands? Relative to what I said I promised my customers, what I promise my customers on a daily basis, relative to how they perceive other brands. How do they perceive me? Now, you may think this is a very expensive and complex thing to do, but quite honestly, it simply boils down to you engaging with your customers. How do you engage with your customers? Do you have coffee with some of your regular customers and ask them their opinion of what you're doing and how your service is impacting them and what they think about your company? Do you get a third party to run a survey on your behalf? Do you simply say, you know what, I want to have a chat with some of my customers, and then these are my key customers, repeat customers, or even first-time customers, and find out from them, was it very easy dealing with me when you had to deal with me? Was it a good experience? What can I do differently? What can I do better? So when asking for feedback, it's important that you make your feedback, you make your questions such that your customer is very happy to give you the information you want. So it's just like in the office, if you go to your people who work for you and then you tell them, what don't you like about me? Chances are these people will not say anything, no? Because they will say, if I go and talk now, you say, what don't I like? Meanwhile, this is somebody who has been complaining behind your back. Now you're asking, what don't you like? The person will not talk because they're maybe afraid of consequences, and nobody wants to hurt anybody's feelings. So you need to structure your questions in such a way that it's easy for your respondent, for your customers to tell you. So if you said something, for instance, like, what are the things you think we can do differently? What would you like us to do better? If there was one thing you wanted us to add to what we do today or to change, what would it be? So think of skillful ways in which you can get feedback from your customers. And then don't be worried about people who give you feedback that is very harsh. Don't be offended by people who give you feedback at all. Because trust me, it's very difficult to tell your friend, right, to go and brush their teeth or to use a mint, even if you're very close, because you don't want to hurt the person's feelings. So feedback is difficult. So sometimes you find even people close to you are not the people who give you the answers you want to hear. But there are those people who would and have the courage to tell you what is uncomfortable. You need to cherish them. And that comes also with situations like this. Focus groups are where you can have customers in the room, prospects in the room, sit them down and just get them to talk. And then they talk, they give you information, they answer your questions, and then you can even ask further questions on those questions just to hear more about them. So now, in rounding up, I'm going to quickly go to key takeaways. So, as I round off this part before we go into the next section, which is the interactive question and answer, you need to be clear about your brand. If there's some takeaways, these are some of them. You need to be clear about what you stand for. Who are you? Who are you? What are you about? What is it about you that makes you different? You have to be clear and you have to be true. People deal with people who they understand, who they are clear about. You have, age-old sayings like, it is better to deal with the angel you know than the devil you know than the angel that you don't know. Why is that? Is it that people prefer devils to angels? No. But it's because when they are dealing with the devil, they already know what they are getting into. They know what to expect. They know what they are dealing with. They can prepare their minds. So as a brand, people must know what they are getting into when they deal with you. They must know what you stand for. And it is what you stand for, what you continually do, not what you say you will do, what you continually, consistently do, what you consistently reinforce by your behavior, by what you stand for, that becomes your brand. Again, like we mentioned, your business strategy and your brand strategy must be intertwined. They must be interwoven. They must be one and the same thing because each should reinforce the other. Very, very important to growing businesses. You need to hire people who believe in what you believe in, who stand for what you stand for. So it's beautiful today to employ brilliant people, people who can help you sell, people who can help you move market, as they say. But if you don't have people who believe in your brand and don't have the same culture, don't buy into your culture, people who you're not going to be able to sell your culture to, their behavior can take away from your brand, can dissipate your brand equity. So it's very, very important that the people you have, whether you're selling a service or a product, exemplify your brand, because these are the people they are going to see. Chances are your customers may never even see you. They will see the people you hire. So they need to be an embodiment of the brand. Whatever it takes, whatever it costs you to make sure the people you have represent your brand properly, you really need to pay that price. Again, you must know your target market. We've said before that you cannot be all things to all people. You can't, because in being all things to all people, you end up being nothing to no one. And then you're just a number, you're just a statistic. So you can't serve everybody. You have to choose who your target market is and make sure that you are giving them what you say you will give them. So in defining this, who you are, what you stand for, what you believe in, what your product does on a functional level, on an emotional level, would already attract your target market. What will keep them is if you stay true to this. Your communications must reinforce your brand, your tone, what you say, what you believe in. If you believe in something, what you say should not be different from what you said you believe in. If you say you're very customer-centric, right? And you believe in the customer, and it's all about the customer. When people come into your shop, or when people come into your office, when come into your boutique or into your restaurant, they should see that in what you do. In the messaging, if there's any messaging, in the way the waiter greets them, in the way the cook serves you, in the way everything is being done. It must show that they really, really value you. And those are the things your customers are going to take away when they leave. And those are the things that are going to determine whether they will be repeat customers or not. And then lastly, on this slide, and there are so many key takeaways, but lastly, what we'll talk about is that you need to reward brands the right behavior that reinforces your brand. So when you have branded behaviors exhibited by your people, by your staff, you need to reward them so that this brand behavior continues to perpetuate throughout your organization, so that it persists. So you need to reward the right behavior, and conversely, you need to be able to deal with behavior that is not consistent with your brand, such that that behavior, you can quench the occurrences of that behavior, and that behavior will not take away from your brand. But at this point, I'd like to say we're good to go into our Q&A, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you have. Thank you very much.
Wow, thank you so much, Alex. That was an intense one. I did learn a lot, and I believe that everyone here did learn a lot about branding today. Branding is key. Branding is important. I'm very sure Alex actually did overemphasize more about that if you paid attention. So please, let's quickly go to our question and answer section. You could drop your questions in the comment sections, and I'll just read them out to him, and then we'll take it up from there. So questions, please.
Hello.
Yeah, hello.
Okay, good
Hello.
afternoon. My name is Kizito.
Good afternoon, Kizito. You can go ahead.
Okay, yeah, I've been listening to Alex, but then, we're talking about startups, right? Yeah, so the major issue with startups is funding. It's not even about the ideas. It's not about keeping up with the ideas, with the branding strategy, all those stuff. But then funding is major issues for startups because you know how Nigeria is now. And then many of the people that have the ideas don't have the money to bring it to life. Yeah. So how does one go about raising capital for the startups, like setting structures in place to ensure that the business goes well? Can you give us any idea? So I think it's going to help a lot of us.
Okay, I'm going to say this, and my answer is going to be predicated on two things. One, I do hear you about the challenge of raising funds, and the fact that, capital and funds is the lifeblood of an organization. You need to be able to run your business. But I'm going to say this here. Today we are talking about branding, and I do not want you to think that you need to have a lot of money in order to do branding. So I am not at all disagreeing with the fact that funding is very important, and there are different ways and means through which small businesses can raise funds. But keeping on topic, I just want to relate your question back to this.
Okay.
Like I said, right? Businesses, Kizito, are always building a brand, whether they are doing it consciously or it is being done for them because they are doing it unconsciously and not proactively. So the sum total of what your customer attributes to you is your brand. So it's very tempting to say, I would talk about what is branding business, but first of all, I have to have money to run my business. It's very tempting to look at it from that point of view. But what I want to challenge you is this. Just like individuals, we are who we are, right? We are who we are. We have attributes about us, we have characteristics about us that define us. And based on those attributes and characteristics, you find certain friends, you find you're close to certain family members, you have people and brands that you like, because it is what is in you that is in consonance with what is in them, and then you find a parallel and then you get together. So even as a startup, even as a business that is growing, there are things about you that you have to define. Branding is simply saying, this is who I am, this is my story, this is what I'm about, and this is why I do what I do. And then the people who believe in the things that you believe in will gravitate towards you. So feel free, after this, we will talk to Ada, and I don't mind you sending me an email and sharing information on your other question, but I want to keep this discussion on topic and just relate your question back to what we're talking about. So I hope that helps.
Thank you. Thank you, Alice. Yeah, so basically we're actually talking about branding and not basically funding. We understand funding is a major part of a business, like Alex has said. So but it's just that if you are here, we believe that you want to really get to know more about how to go about the branding of your business, especially as a startup. So so we have a question here from Oyedeji, and he says, thank you, Mr. Alex. How much does color and naming a startup affect branding?
Very, very nice question. Sorry, who asked the question?
Okay, his name is Oyedeji.
All right, thanks, Oyedeji. Very, very good question. Color and you said color and what? Can you take that question again?
He said, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so he said, how much does color and naming a startup affect branding?
Okay.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So I'm going to answer in this manner. If your brand name, if the name you give your business is easy to recall, it's easy to remember, right? It's memorable, that they hear you once and they remember. Chances are it will be easy for that name to go from mouth to mouth. It will be easy for me to recollect. So somebody sees a book you bought and they ask, oh, where did you buy that book? And then you can't for the life of you remember the name of the bookshop because it was very long and very complex. Chances are that if your name was memorable and it was easy to recall and it was catchy, they will easily, once they've heard it once, it will stick. And then it's easy for me to say, oh yes, I bought it at so and so place. And because the name is easy to remember, somebody can tell someone else who will tell someone else. And when they think, oh, I need to buy a book, where should I go? The name pops into their head and bam. So those kind of things drive recall so that people can recall the name of your business. And at the same time, top of mind is achieved when is one of the factors when your name is easy to remember. Then color. Color is one of those attributes that stands out. Today, when you see yellow, what comes to your mind is MTN. You see the MTN yellow, it comes to your mind because you've associated that color with MTN. So colors help you stand out. So imagine being in a large crowd and there were different colors. If your color is brighter and is sharper, chances are the eye will pick it. But that's not the only factor that is that affects color. It's good that the color you have is something that is associated with you, and that over time, consistently, you've reinforced the fact that this is part of your brand identity. So you're able to leverage that when you put your color out there. So it differentiates. To answer your question directly, how important is it? It is very important because it helps you differentiate. It helps you stand out from your competition. So in choosing those colors, try and choose colors that reinforce what your brand stands for. Colors that can easily be associated with other attributes of your brand. So I think they're very, very important.
Okay, thank you for that response. There's a question from Engineer Dayo, And Engineer Dio says, thanks, Alex, for the insightful presentation. I would like to know how one can know the potential competitors to a business, just like you talked about Pepsi or soft drink being a competitor to recharge cards. It takes a certain level of digging to find stuffs like this. How can a startup do competitor analysis for their brands?
Nice question, very nice question, engineer. So I would say for now, one of the things that we are blessed with at this time is the internet. I will be very happy to say, oh, go for this course or go and do that. But the internet is awash with so much. So I think if it matters to you, the internet is your guy. Go onto the internet. There's so many things you're going to be able to lay hands on that are going to help you in finding out models you can use that help you do a very good competitor analysis. Now, if I'm to get down to basics, what I would say is this. On the first level, you have to understand people who do the things you do. That's one. So anybody who does exactly what you do or serves the same need that you serve is your competitor. So in your environment, for instance, if you are in the business of quenching hunger, and I like to use that rather than say a restaurant, right? If I am selling, if there's a bakery beside me, and there is a restaurant beside me, and there's somebody who sells puff-puff, and there's a mama put beside me, all of us are competing for the same, to solve the same problem of the customer, which is to quench hunger. Now, we as the customers might decide to quench our hunger in different means, but we're actually targeting the same person, the same individual. So as long as they are serving the same need that you serve, then they're your competition. So that is a place to start. So if your customer can spend the money he will spend on you with somebody else who also serves that same purpose that you serve, that's your competition. And that's where you start doing your analysis from. You start looking at your competition, start looking at how well your competitor is serving the needs of your customers and how their reaction is to it. Next, if we go on to the level I talked about, you simply look at the fact that if you were to be your own customer, how much is it that you spend on buying? So let's say you want to buy a TV in your house, right? What were the things that you spent money on that stopped you from buying your TV? Say, for instance, I say you're in the business of selling electronics, but there are other things that people end up spending their money on in order not to, that stop them from buying that. That is your indirect competition of a sort. Now, you can use yourself as an example, and that's why I started by saying you put in your budget this month and say you wanted to buy XYZ, but you're not able to do that because there were other competing things. Those are your competition. So quite honestly, if you look at it on a very broad level, nearly everything is your competition. The month that you're going to pay school fees, there are a number of things you will not be able to do. The month you're going to pay your house rent, there are a number of things you won't be able to do. So all those are your competition. But it is good to put all of those things in their different perspectives. So I think the best thing is understand those who quench the need that you are in the market to quench. Also understand that if my customer doesn't spend money on my stuff, is it because he was spending it on something else? And what are those things that are likely going to be the things they're going to spend on? Even from looking at yourself, close friends and family members, you can get an idea. But other than that, like I said, the internet is your guide. Go on the internet and you'll see a couple of frameworks that will be able to help you in this regard. For further help, I'm also going to leave my email address. And if you want to talk this further, I'd be very happy to help you offline.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Alex. Sylvester, so sorry. You said your hands have been up. You want to ask a question? I'm so sorry. I'll get to you. So let me just read out these two that I have here. Then I'll get to you immediately. Jidelfo is asking, what should make you happy or tick as an entrepreneur?
Interesting. Well, let's keep ourselves honest, right? Or let me keep myself honest. I haven't been an entrepreneur. I'm not an entrepreneur. I have so much great admiration for entrepreneurs because it's entrepreneurs that create jobs for us to work and create value, like I said in the beginning. Now, if I just listen to what I know entrepreneurs that I have admired have said, you should find what you love. Again, I quote Steve Jobs because he's someone I admire, even though posthumously, because he's passed on. He did say the only way to do great work is to do what you love. And when you do what you love, regardless of the hardships and the stress that comes along with running a business, you are going to keep on at it. And even if money is not the only consideration, or rather, money would not be the only consideration because you love this anyway. So there's a way you come to the table when you do something you love. And I think for SMEs, if I'm to answer your question directly, what should an entrepreneur love? I would just say that he should love what he does and what he's in business for. You should be in business doing something that you really care about. Because when you care about something, you do it differently from those who don't really care that much about it. From people who are just doing it for the money and the next minute they're looking for how to sell the business or move on. So I think, I don't know whether this has helped answer your question, but I think you should find yourself doing what you really care about, what you love, what you have a natural knack for, what you can do even if money wasn't a consideration. Because when you do that, through it all, you're still going to smile. So even if you're going to choose a struggle from the many struggles one has to deal with in life, it shouldn't be dealing with a business that you're not interested in or you don't like. It should be something you love.
True. Thank you for that, Alex. There's a question from Ayo Williams, and he says, thanks for the insightful presentation, sir. It's a good idea to build my brand on a recognized existing, I don't know if he's saying if, I think it's a question, but he said it is a good idea, but I think he's trying to say, is it a good idea to build my brand on a recognized existing brand? For example, I'm into agent banking and I'm trying to use a brand of a bank to build my own brand. But my problem is how to balance it in the future so I can now stand alone after some time.
Okay, interesting question. Now, I will give you my perspective. I won't say I have an answer to that, but I will give you my views on that. I think you're most probably not the only agent of the bank. So there'll be a number of agents for the bank, talking about agency banking. So if you're one among many, you still want to differentiate yourself from other agents of the bank or other bank agents, right? You want to show how you are different. In that wise, it is important that you also bring something to the table from day one. There has to be something about you that will make you the choice. Now, riding on a larger, bigger brand can help you get quicker visibility, can also give you some kind of authenticity in the eyes of other brands who also want to do business with you. But it's also important to start defining your brand from the very get-go. I say it's very important to start defining your brand because if not, you may struggle later on. So I think it's something, like you said, it's a balancing act. But I think at the same time, you need to be clear that you have a brand of your own and that your brand is your brand. The fact that you are into agency banking and you represent the bank or an agent for the bank, you still have to build your own brand. And that is what will help you stand out. In fact, it will be even what will help you to continue to be an agent of the bank. The bank has to know why, among the other businesses that can be agents to the bank, why they should keep you. So I still think it's very important that, my perspective, that you build your brand from the very get-go.
Sylvester, you can ask your question now.
All right, thank you very much. And thanks, Mr. Alex, for the presentation, quite insightful. I will just talk a bit about some of the questions I've had, which are a bit relevant to me. The first one is Kizito's question, and I am thinking maybe next time you could probably do something like branding, as you've given it to us, is very wonderful, but maybe broken down into what people can do at the very early stage of their startup business and what can come maybe middle term and probably much later. That can help to maybe address what his concern was, really, because when you are struggling to set up a business and to survive, putting some money into branding probably is the last that comes to your mind. I know from what you said, I mean, we should think about this in line with the business strategy, but it's something that people can look at. For example, the other question I talked about colors and names, having all those ones doesn't really cost you anything. These are things you can start doing even when you don't have too much money. Agreeing on a compelling vision for your business, determining the niche you want to serve as targeting, like you also mentioned, staying true to your ideas and execution. All these are things you can actually do without necessarily having all the monies in the world. But when it comes to pushing your brand identity, that top of the mind awareness that you also mentioned, having people be visible, having them to see you, that needs money. That probably will come a bit later. And to Ayo's question, the way you just dealt with, Ayo Williams, I was thinking riding on brands, that's brand extension, should typically be the owner of the brand trying to use that good brand name to do something different. But how do you, working for somebody with a good brand, want to use that brand to your advantage, if not create something for yourself, no matter how little, and start from there? Because that you're working for a first bank, for example, when you come off and tell me you are now on your own, I won't use the first bank brand to rate you. I'm going to see you as a standalone. So I rather we look at building our own brand, no matter how small we start, than trying to come off somebody's bigger brand. Thanks very much. That's my contribution.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much for your contribution, Sylvester. I think very, very salient points. And yes, I guess, I hope that wasn't lost on us, but I think, like I did mention, let's be very clear that what you need, right, to develop a brand, to do it. It starts from you being true to yourself and knowing what it is you want to do and saying, these are the standards I'm going to uphold. So start from where you are. Start from where you are. There are things that you can do that just help you to be distinguishable from your competition, that do not cost you a ton. Start from there. Make sure you have a catchy name. Make sure your name is true to you, even if it's not catchy. Is it memorable? Is it easy to remember? Is it clear? If someone was to spell it and write it, would they get it right? So when they're searching for me, they can find me more easily. You understand? The things you stand for. What's your purpose? What's your mission? Why are you in business? And what are the values that you will hold dear in what you're doing? And those things that you talk about, do they affect everything I do? When you look at it, really, there are things you can start with from day one that will not cost you an arm and a leg. In fact, it all starts as a mindset, and you telling yourself that I'm not just going to do what everybody else is doing. I'm not just going to jump into it. This is how I want to be different. And this is how I want to create this connection with my customers. And this is the kind of feeling I want my customers to feel when they deal with me. So very good contributions. Thank you so much. I think that was Sylvester.
Yeah, Sylvester.
So any other questions?
Yeah, thank you, Sylvester. So there's a question from Zubi. Zubi said a major challenge for startups that makes branding not to be up there as an issue is the pressing need to be careful about choosing colors or name. If we are to follow Elon Musk, the focus should be on developing a product and keeping to a defined vision and mission. Do you think virtual branding should be reviewed as business runs? In that case, how regular should this review be?
All right, interesting question. So how often should I review my brand? So I would just say that leading brands review their brands a lot of the time. And I think this is in line with changing circumstances, changing business terrain, sometimes even changes in direction. They've increased the scope of what they want to be or what they want to do, or they want to reposition, or sometimes it's just a refresh, just to change from all this. They feel they've been a bit stale and they just want to be fresh in the minds of their customers. So I think every once in a while, it's important that you have a look at your brand and say, how can I nip and tuck? What do I need to do to this brand to ensure that I keep myself top of mind and I am fresh in the minds of my audience? Now, it is not something you need to do for doing sake. When businesses do that, there's a reason behind it. I do know a lot of big brands regularly refresh their brand, so they refresh their look and feel. What is core to the brand doesn't change, but they can decide to, change the typeface, change the logo slightly. The logo predominantly may be the same, but if there was a name and a logo, may just be the logo now, or they just change some attributes to do with it, but it is still recognizable. Many times it's not a very far departure from where they're coming. Now, while you're building and focusing on building a product brand, I don't think it is unsafe to look at color and look at naming and look at that. From the very get-go, you decide what you want. When you're choosing colors, you're choosing for a reason, even if it's because to you, this is what this color represents. A lot of people have talked about the fact that they go onto Pinterest.com and they can type something and they can type colors associated with something and they will get colors that, are largely associated with that particular attribute or an item. So if you say bold, for instance, which colors exemplify the word bold? You understand? If fire is something that is something core to your belief system or something to do with your brand, what about fire can you use in your colors? Would that inform your color being red or being yellow? Do you understand? Or orange? So I think it's all about the story you want to tell. I don't think there is a clear right and wrong. I think it's about what you believe in. And that's why it's important that we don't just do things. We do things that reinforce what we believe, what we are comfortable with, what reinforces what we're about. So that way you can never be wrong, because you're associating with your brand the things that matter to you and how you want to be seen. So that's the much I would say to that question. Are there any other questions?
Yes, sir. Hello?
Yes, there are questions. Let me just get this.
Okay.
Okay, so there's a question again from Oyedeji, and it says, how can a startup, he says, how can a startup achieve success in the area of branding without breaking the bank? And kindly give models that you know have worked. Thank you.
Okay. I think I can answer the first part of the question. I can attempt to answer the first part of the question. I can share my thoughts on that. So I think without breaking bank, I think a startup should identify, be clear about what they stand for. So why am I in business? You should have a story, and you should reduce that story to writing, right? I think you should have a story that says to you, okay, so you should have a story that exemplifies or rather encapsulates why you're in business. What is your why? Why do you do what you do? Why does it matter to you who runs this business? I think the more clearly you can state that, if, for instance, and this is just me thinking out loud, If, for instance, when somebody enters your shop and there was an inscription on the wall, right, that talks about why you do what you do, it will be heartwarming if somebody enters your boutique, for instance, and there's a caption, there's a short message, and it talks about why you think the right clothing is important and why it matters to you. Something as simple as that can determine whether people come back to your shop because they feel, this person really, this is something they care about. It is personal to them. So people want to know that what you do matters to you and that you're passionate about it. So any means you have that can explain that is very helpful. The next thing I would say is have clearly defined brand elements. So choose your color, choose your logo. Once you have it, make sure it is something that you believe represents who you are and who you want to be, right? So it doesn't cost you too much to write your name in a certain style, for instance, even if it is just using a particular font to write your name and ensuring that the icon that you put with it is unique to you. It's not something that is all over the place, that is not common, you know? You need to ensure that people can identify you. And then for a small business, you're not gonna do so much marketing communication, right? So it's not about people seeing your presence all over the place. When people interact with you, let them come away feeling that every time I interact with AYZ business, this is what I can be sure will happen. Let there be a brand promise that people walk away from you knowing that this is what you stand for, that you give them a certain set of experiences consistently. Some people say that the reason why I like going to this restaurant is that it is always clean. It doesn't matter if there were 10 people here, immediately somebody gets up, they clean the table, they clean the place, it is always clean. The people are always friendly. They are always friendly. They are not in a hurry to make you leave. Little things like that matter. So you have to sometimes just take the place of your customer and say, if I was a customer coming into my business, what would it be that I will see that will make me want to come back? So your business is your life. You know it better than I do. So these are the things that big brands look at and they think about. They would backward engineer it and say, what makes a happy customer? If someone was to leave my shop, what are the things that will make them very happy? What experience would they have had inside that would make them happy? What kind of information would they be happy to receive? What kind of greeting, what kind of salutation, what kind of reception will they receive that will make them feel special when they come in? You know, but those are the little things a startup needs to think about. How can I make my customer delight? How can I delight my customer? And how can what I do reinforce what I say I do? So that his experience with me will be something he will go and talk about, and then other customers will come wanting to experience the same thing. How can I be consistent? So in a nutshell, that would be my perspective to that.
Okay, thank you very much, Alex. So we have just 3 questions here, and that's the only question we'll be taking for now because of time. So we won't want to, stretch Alex so much. So and because of timing also, we are supposed to have ended this since 2, but of course we've taken more time. So I'll just take the 3 questions that we have here, and then we fine, good to go. So there's a question from E. Akman. He says, thank you very much, Alex, Mr. Alex, for your delivery on this topic. I am concerned with business scalability. How effective or how does branding help with business scalability?
Okay, I think you should just take the 3 questions at once, and then I will just answer them
okay, fantastic.
one after the other. Yes.
Okay, then fantastic.
In the interest of time. Okay.
All right. So the second one says, it's one thing for a business. This is from Gidelfo. It says it's one thing for a business owner to build a brand from scratch zero, a household name. A major error I see about companies is with the employees in these businesses are the staff and the negligence of the business owner to communicate clearly what his vision, passion is. We must get employees that share your passion and enthusiasm about the company. Many business fall because of this. Okay, I think this is a contribution, I guess. The last question says, as a startup, is it a good idea to render cheap services all in the name of getting customers? I think there's a question. He's saying that, is it a good idea to render cheap services all in the name of getting customers?
Okay. All right, nice questions. Let me start from the contribution. I think that's an excellent contribution. I think many times, if we as the ones leading a business are not clear about our vision, about what we stand for, about our story, about our why, how then do we expect the people to work for us to understand it? I think that contribution is excellent. We have to be clear in ourselves. You can't imagine how powerful clarity is. Once you're clear on something, it's easy to pursue. So I think that contribution is fantastic, and I totally am in agreement. When you're clear about what you want, you can define your hiring to say, because what I want is a smiling, friendly, happy person willing to admit mistakes. Even in the interview process, when you have people say, I'm sorry, I don't know, or I can't answer that question, or no worries. There are things you pick up from that interview to say, he has the right characteristics of somebody I want, but these are the kind of people I want. So it drives your recruitment and every other thing in your organization. I'll start again. I'll answer the third question again, which says cheap services. It may not be a bad idea you're starting out and you want to offer your services, you know, at an affordable price, so that you're able to attract customers, because you're a new entrant into the market. You want to at least use that as something to attract. But it's important to note that it's not sustainable. If you become a brand that is purely value for money, that is just targeting the cost-sensitive part of the market, and all you want to do is push your value proposition is that you're cheap, somebody can aim to undercut you and offer commensurate services. So services almost at the same level. So I think it's a very good question, because one of the questions I even asked myself as I was preparing for this was, do you say then as a brand that pricing doesn't have a role to play? Does pricing have a role to play in branding? Does branding have a role to play in pricing? So the way you price yourself too also adds to your brand perception. If they consider that you are cheap, some people associate lack of quality with cheapness. So there's some people you go and bid to, and then 3 people will come and bid, and you, who is the cheapest, you think you will get it because you're cheap. You may not get it because that buyer may just consider that, you know what, maybe his things are not really of high quality. Either the product is not of high quality or the services may not be of high quality. So it's not something to sustain. Then lastly, in quickly wrapping up, very interesting question, brands helping scalability. I must tell you of the truth, this is something I really need to wrap my head around. It's an interesting question because I think it's something that's going to get me thinking, but I don't have an answer to this question. How branding can help scalability. I do know if you have a strong and recognizable brand, if you want to enter new markets, if you want to create extensions, if you want to go into new areas, right? The equity from your existing brand can help, you know? I think that's the much I would say on that, but that is to say whether that is actually answering what you mean by helping with when it comes to scalability. So scalability, the way I understand it, is growth, you know, going into new areas or doing what you currently do at a much bigger and a greater level. I think branding would really help. If you have a recognizable brand and trusted brand, if you begin to extend beyond what you usually do, I think the equity along from your brand can help in that regard. I think that's the much I would say on that question.
Okay, and just before we leave, and the last person who was asking about, who talked about cheap services, he had a continuation. I didn't even see that. So he said he's a graphic designer, and then he works from home and doesn't have a working client. So nobody gets to see his colors, his mission, his vision, and his vision statement, colors, and other brand identities. So is there any other means to display that?
All right. First of all, my question would be, how is he marketing? How are you marketing your business right now? Do you have an Instagram handle? Are you on Facebook? Are you on social media? If you are, then that's an excellent channel because you can write about what you do. You can tweet about what you do. You can tweet about, you can start by sharing knowledge within this area, importance of having the right type of logo, how logos enhance your business, how colors can send certain attributes about what you do. So being a graphics designer, I think you may end up working for people who work for other people because a lot of agencies and brands work with companies that need graphic designers. So you may be working for a business that serves other customers, or you may be working directly with customers. But I think you still have an opportunity. The beauty about social media is that it allows you to publish yourself. If you do what you do and you're happy with what you do and you feel passionate about what you do and you're on social media, then start publishing yourself to the world. On your social media handle, you should have your logo, you should have your colors, you should have what your business is about, possibly why you do it, and then post and tweet stories and things, little tidbits that will help your customer base. And in marketing yourself and telling the market what you do, you'll be sharing your attributes, what it is about you, even if it is just your core brand identity. Then it will from there lead to other things. So I think it is still possible, even if you're a one-man business, you're a hot shop, you're a professional that serves others. I still think there's opportunity to, especially using social media, to publish yourself to the world.
Wow. Thank you so much, Alice. I must confess it was an intense one. I'm sure that's why we took more time because branding is a very, very, very important aspect of a business. You can't take it away. You can't take it away. Just like Alice said from the beginning, when you see yellow, the thing that comes to your mind first is, oh, MTN. When you see, colors are like, even here in Whogohost, we're very particular about our colors. Very, 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 very particular. We're as particular as the color type, like the blue we use, there's a color type of that blue. So we don't just, if you're going to use our logo, maybe we have a partnership, some sort of sponsorship for an event, and you want to use our logo for something, and the blue just stands out somehow. We would definitely say, oh, this isn't how it's supposed to be, because of course that's what branding is all about. So, and I believe Alex did a lot of justice on this today. Like, he did a whole lot of justice on this. Thank you so much, Alice. My God, I don't know if you can still answer more questions. We have one more questions from.
All right.
Okay, IJ, you said we didn't answer your question. What was your question, please?